Coming up on Legislative Review, a call for transparency in Medicare Advantage claims. Plus, testing sewage water for forever chemicals. That's coming up on Legislative Review. Thanks for joining us on Legislative Review. I'm Angela Nolasco with your highlights of today's hearings in the legislature.
Good morning and welcome to the House Healthcare and Wellness Committee meeting February 7th.
A new bill proposed in the State House aims to bring more transparency to Medicare Advantage plans, impacting how health insurance companies handle claim denials. House Bill 1639 proposes to require private insurers offering Medicare Advantage coverage in Washington to disclose important information to customers. This includes the rate at which claims are denied, how many of those denials are overturned on appeal, and details about the appeals process itself. Consumers may find that Medicare Advantage plans are a popular option for older adults and people with certain disabilities, but many find the claims process confusing. House Bill 1639 aims to clarify how often claims get denied and what consumers' options are if that happens. If enacted, proponents say it could help consumers make better decisions about their coverage. Companies that fail to provide the required information could be violating Washington's Consumer Protection Act, which could lead to legal actions, fines, and potential lawsuits. At a public hearing held by the House Healthcare and Wellness Committee Friday, Democratic Representative Adam Birnbaum spoke on his bill.
It is important from a consumer choice perspective as well as from a plan conduct perspective that people have access to both prior authorization data and the broader pool of data about Medicare claim denials. When claims are trying to realize value, they can use prior authorization, but they may offset that by increasing claim denials.
The bill received pushback from members representing the health insurance industry.
The policy provisions of 1639 would be preempted under federal law, and the state wouldn't be allowed to do that. There are also regulatory structures that the federal government has for Medicare Advantage plans around claims denials and appeals, where they look for outliers and they audit the program. And there are appeal rights that individuals have, just like they do under a lot of commercial health insurance plans, for if an appeal is denied, including independent review.
If passed, the law would go into effect 90 days after the legislative session adjourns.
We're going to hear 5033 first. We'll go through that public testimony, and then we will.
Members of the Senate Environment, Energy, and Technology Committee convened Friday to discuss a bill concerning forever chemicals, also known as PFAS. These are synthetic chemicals found in products like nonstick pans and other everyday products that are water, grease, and heat resistant. They're called forever chemicals because they don't easily break down in the environment or in the human body, which could cause health risks like cancer and immune system issues. Senate Bill 5033 proposes to address these growing concerns over toxic chemicals by requiring the State Department of Ecology to test biosolids or sewage wastewater often used as fertilizer for PFAS. When biosolids containing PFAS are applied to land as fertilizer, they can contaminate the soil and groundwater, which would then be absorbed by crops and grazing animals and affect the food chain. Supporters of the bill say testing sewage waste for PFAS would better protect public health and the environment from contamination. Republican Senator Jeff Wilson sponsored the bill. He said it would establish an advisory committee that will work with the State Department of Ecology on sampling and testing policies.
With biosolids, they're good, but biosolids with question mark levels of forever chemicals may not be good. There are 14,000 members of the chemical family of these forever chemicals that are very complex, and they just don't break down. We know that land application should be well thought of to how much should be present in the biosolid and how much should not. That's not for me to decide in the bill. What it is to be decided by this work group.
Testifying in favor of the bill, cancer survivor and combat veteran Alan Acosta.
There are many environmental factors and exposures during my time in service, from airfield operations, foam, combat equipment, fluids, weapons maintenance, lubrication, and even duty station. 3 years being treated in Madigan due to environmental cause, cancer, was not only painful, but a cause of family stress and uncertainty. This legislation is a positive, proactive approach, putting testing requirements to safeguard our food and water in the greater Washington health.
Thank you.
Concerned citizen John Hancock shared his concerns about the bill.
The most concentrated PFAS in eastern Washington is in the septic tanks of me and my neighbors. And I took some out. This is what it looks like. So the yuck factor is here in this jar. And we're on the way towards having this tested. The exemption of septage from this bill means that the most important source of all on 500 farms in the West Plains is exempted from knowing. And I think that's a mistake that will hurt us later. And I would like this project to go faster than 3.5 years based on the findings and the plans that have been made in other states like Maine and Texas. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Atul Deshmane, and then on deck, I'd like to have Scott Hazelgrove, who I believe is in person, Alan Acosta, and John P.
If enacted, new testing standards will be implemented, followed by an in-depth analysis by 2028. The findings will be shared with lawmakers along with recommendations for action. Although we can't cover every bill with legislative review, we bring you some of the highlights each night at 8 and 11. Find us online on tvw.org, YouTube, and Instagram. For an audio version of Legislative Review, you can find us on Spreaker. And that's a wrap for this episode of Legislative Review. Join us nightly at 8 and 11 to keep up with what's happening in the legislature.